With the number of cases going lower and lower each day, the government is trying to reopen offline schools because there are a lot of students who complain about the ineffectiveness of full online school. Reopening offline schools may bring a lot of benefits, but we should also remember about the drawbacks of it. Therefore, in this debate, both teams will state their opinions and arguments about whether offline school should be implemented due to this COVID-19 pandemic. Before we start, I would like to remind both teams that the one who has the right to reject or accept POI from the opposing team is the speaker himself, not the moderator. Now let's start the debate. For the government team's first speaker, please proceed.
Thank you, moderator. Good morning to the respected speaker, cautious timekeeper, honorable judge, member of the opposite teams and audience. Before I put forward my case today, I would like to define today's motions. The plan to implement offline schools due to the pandemic COVID-19. During this pandemic, many activities have been carried out online. This is enforced as an effort to follow the health protocols in order to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Teaching and learning activities are examples that are carried out virtual or online. According to the plan about the implement of offline school due to the pandemic, our team strongly agree with this plan. We will give some reasons why offline schools are better than online. First, we need to know what offline schools. Offline learning courses are simply the ability to go to school in a classroom and attend a class face-to-face with a teacher. There are three major things about online schools that are drawbacks the students. The first one is that online learning has the potential to bring negative impacts on the students' mental health, such as being easily distracted and do not feel the seriousness of the real classroom. They might experience anxiety, depression, social media fatigue, mild to severe stress and boredom. The things also impose some impacts such as time adapt to the ability to use computer technology and the heavy burdens of responsibility. Online schools also affect the economy. Imagine all businesses closed, the school also being impacted by it. Talking about effectiveness in the learning process, offline classes are more effective than online classes, as indicated by online interactions that are often interrupted due to the network problems. Based on the results of survey conducted by the Directorate General of Higher Education of the Ministry of Education and Culture, 90% of students prefer face-to-face offline school in class compared to online school. They felt more interest due to the better understanding, classroom interaction with teachers and students, and enjoying the real learning atmosphere. Furthermore, some opinions state that online learning methods are considered not to provide maximum result because the learning process only takes place in one direction. There are no mutual communications such as individual students-teachers interactions. However, when the situation is better, or the health protocol level 3 of the society is on, real face-to-face school is to be started. The online school is much better because the offline schools give direct interaction learning to students which are not possible in online learning. Although it's true that socialization can be conducted through the internet or social media, but it doesn't give the essence of real face-to-face influence. To support the arguments, the second speaker will explain the health protocol and mental health, the third speaker about the loss of learning, the fourth speaker about the lack of infrastructure, and all the arguments will be concluded by the fifth speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, government team's first speaker. Now let's continue to opposition team's first speaker. You may proceed.
Thank you, moderator. Greetings to the teacher, moderator, educators, fellow government team, and respected audience. We are perfectly aware that the COVID-19 pandemic has hardly forced our lives to alter in many different aspects, particularly in the limitation of social interactions and face-to-face events since the beginning of 2020. This might be a hard obstacle for the global society that is used to be with the activities being held offline and communications being done in real life without the help of any media. One example of it being schools that oblige their students to attend on-site learning. However, considering how this system will be executed in an era where there is no certainty and very high risk of getting one's health affected or even losing one's life, we see no reasons why people should take risks of implementing this system, especially in an era where technology has impressively advanced and developed, with varieties of media and alternatives available, as well as features that can be easily used to enhance the students' learning experience while staying safe. We believe that the implementation of the offline schooling system during this pandemic era is completely futile. Soon, we will elaborate on some arguments that let us believe that the offline school system is inferior, especially during the pandemic, with arguments ranging from health risks that will be explained by the second speaker, ecological well-being and economical efficiency that will be explained by the third speaker, as well as the availability of technology that can complement the conventional learning system, thus making it improved and more efficient, that will be explained by the fourth speaker. Another point that we should all remember is the world is and will continue to face changes in which humans have to adapt to. And this pandemic is one of them. Forcing schools to be held on site on times like this doesn't reflect on adaptability, but rather shows how underestimating and stubborn we are as a population towards the harms of the virus. Although more people may prefer the face-to-face learning experience, we believe that at times when health and life is at stake, preferences should be first set aside. In whatever circumstance, the offline school system doesn't reflect on that. Thus, we strongly disagree with this motion and hope to prove our disagreement with arguments to elucidate our opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, opposition team's first speaker. Now let's continue to the government team's second speaker. Please proceed.
Thank you, moderator. So as a second speaker, I will present some arguments and will also review the arguments presented by the opposite team. So I agree that some people, especially parents, may feel worried if their children have to study face-to-face at school in these times. This is very understandable, I know, considering we are still in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. But the government of Jakarta, Anies Baswedan, has compiled regulations regarding PTM or Pertemuan Tatap Muka in such a way to protect students and school staff from virus transmission while in school. Schools are required to facilitate the implementation of face-to-face and online learning for all children according to the choice of parents. Here, I'm emphasizing that parents are given the freedom to make decisions whether their children will undergo learning sessions face-to-face or online. Besides for face-to-face learning, schools are also required following regulations regarding first, class capacity, which is done with 50% of normal capacity by maintaining a minimum distance of 1.5 meters. Second, the air circulations. Third, the limited study of duration. Fourth, a clean and hygiene body. Fifth, availability of facilities. Six, completeness of COVID-19 vaccination for teachers and school officers. Our Indonesian Minister of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, Nadya points out that at least 28% of Indonesia's 5.6 million teachers or other faculty have already received COVID-19 vaccinations. So regarding the regulations that need to be adhered by the school, students, and parents, there's no more reasons to worry about face-to-face learning. Next, if we're talking about health, we can only consider physical health as the opposite team said earlier, but also consider mental health affected by this online learning. The school closures can be expected to have numerous consequences for the socio-emotional and motivational development of the affected children and adolescents. School offers teenagers and young adults an opportunity to connect with their peers. However, the home learning program is even more stressful than regular classrooms. Why? Some of the common reasons for this.
I believe.
I accepted.
Okay, so thank you. Concerning what the government team has just said, which is about online schools may affect the students' mental health due to being unable to socialize with their peers directly. In our opinion, socializing can be done through meetings outside school that are less frequent, as long as it is held according to health protocols. It also can be done through online media. Besides, offline schools itself may affect the students' mental health, as some students may feel anxious of getting infected by the virus, which can worsen their mental health condition. Please take that as a consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the PLI. I will continue. But the study by Indonesian Journal of Learning, Education, and Counseling showed that 29% of students having a level of depression depression above normal, 70% of students had an anxiety level above normal, and 46% of students had a stress level above normal during this pandemic. It is estimated by NCBI that 14.3% of death worldwide, or approximately 8 million that each year, are attributable to mental disorder. So I think that's all for my arguments. Thank you.
Thank you, government team's second speaker. Now for the opposition team's second speaker, the time is yours.
Thank you for your thank you very much, moderator, for your opportunity. As the second speaker of the government team has said, that parents shouldn't be worried about their children to attend offline school because of their health protocols at school. However, in my opinion here, offline schooling system precisely makes a cluster of transmissions possible to occur. Here are the reasons why. First is because the lack of discipline. Based on a survey conducted by Statista, 1 of 5 Indonesian still do not wear face masks in public places, although face masks are the first and foremost barrier to help prevent one from transmitting or getting transmitted by COVID-19. This shows that Indonesians still have the lack of discipline as well as awareness of the importance of wearing mask. Second,
Excuse me, PI, please.
PI accepted.
So stated by the opposition team that Indonesians have a lack of discipline in implementing health protocol. Therefore, offline schools shouldn't be implemented. Yet I think the lack of discipline itself is a major issue that can only be solved by offline education. How to teach students how to be disciplined if there isn't any supervision in online schools. For instance, the military is notoriously well to be disciplined because their upper rank constantly watches and monitors their progress. What do the opposition team think about this?
Okay, thank you for your PI. Let me continue. So the second is hard to control interaction. The average class size in Indonesia that we know it's 30 to 40 students in class, which often guided by one teacher. With this ratio, it must be hard for teachers to make sure that every student complies to health protocols and social distancing policies the whole time while they are at school. Even if students are supervised well at school, there is no guarantee that students will keep this behavior on their way and from school. We should also take into account that teachers may not follow the rules regulations well themselves, nor do supervision towards the compliance of state guidelines by students. This will be a big challenge, especially to younger children in elementary schools or preschools. Third is the daily meetup increased risk of transmissions. When the offline school system is conducted, people will have to go outside their house and encounter many other people aside from their peers and teachers or students, such as drivers, maybe other public transport users, shop owners, or so on a daily basis. If one person is infected through these external parties or goes to school to meet his or her friends or other school community, he or she may transmit the virus to them, or otherwise the infected friends can bring the virus home and transmit it to their family members, and the chains goes along the way. And last but not least is the risk of getting infected by COVID-19 is higher in crowded and insufficiently ventilated space. We should consider that not all schools have good ventilation systems. Thus, air circulation cannot be guaranteed, and this may contribute to the increased rate and the speed of the virus spreading. Thank you.
Thank you, opposition team's second speaker. Now, let's continue to the government team's third speaker. You may proceed.
Thank you, moderator, for the opportunity, and thank you for the opposition team. As the third speaker, I will present some arguments about offline learning. Stated by opposition team that Indonesia has a lack of discipline. I think it is the reason why Indonesia need to implement offline learning. Online learning is not effective. In online settings, students may have more distractions and less oversights, which can reduce their motivation. They can easily get distracted by phones because there isn't any supervision available. This will affect students' performances in school and will create an effect called loss of learning. So more than 97% of educators reported seeing some loss of learning in their students over the past year when compared with children in the previous year. And 57% estimated that their students are behind by more than 3 months in their most social emotional progress, according to CNPC survey from 941 US educators. Students' academic performances are also lower. 5% of students are behind by more than 12 months, while 80% of students are lagging 2 months or longer compared to the prior years. And that loss of learning itself will affect Indonesia. I accepted.
Thank you, government team. Regarding to a point that the third government team has said about the online school students are unable to focus during class or lack motivations. But besides that, with these online schools, this can be an early start for them to have a taste of adulthood, or we can say that we learn to be an independent person starting from now. Example, when students graduate from school, there will be no peers or teachers who will push them to maximize their potential or to do good. What do you think about that?
Thank you for the POI. I think with that statement, it is assumed that every students do not need teachers to supervise things. And I think it's not true. Teachers are role models for students to regulate emotion appropriately in the classroom. It needs affection that cannot be relayed online. Some things even cannot be done online. Cooks cannot learn to cook by playing some kind of cooking mama, while pilots cannot learn how to fly the plane by playing online games such as Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yet it is the real condition of what we encounter right now. We are forced to learn traditional music by application and having lab work through simulation. Online learning, I think it's just irrelevant. So I will continue about the learning loss. And that learning of loss, it will affect Indonesia in 50 years to come. Based on OECD report 2020, there are two related long-run economic costs that are central to this discussion. First, affected students whose schooling has been interrupted by the pandemic face long-term losses in income. Second, national economies that go forward with less skilled labor force face longer economic growth. Imagine if your future doctor or president could not read or write because of online learning. And remember the OECD report that I've told you, it predicts that Indonesia will lose 2,200 billion US dollar if the schools muted for 1 year and 4,300 billion US dollar for 2 years. That is 6,500 trillion rupiah loss for Indonesia. With those amount of money, you can buy a lot of things. You can buy 9 billion hazmat suits, or to put you into perspective, it is 22 times the Jeff Bezos wealth. It is so much, and you can do a lot of more things with those amount of money.
Thank you, government team's third speaker. Now let's continue to the opposition team's third speaker. You may continue.
Thank you, moderator, for the opportunity, and thank you for government team for the opinion. But we still disagree with this implementation because offline schooling system is ecologically and economically less friendly. The reason we said like that: one, disposable masks as the #1 medical waste contributor. Based on the Indonesian Ministry of Education, there are a total of 40,135,195 students in Indonesia from elementary school to senior high school. Let's say that 100% of them satisfy all health protocols and go to school safely. That means every day around 40 million masks are being used for students to go to school. This number may double up to 80 million if they were double masks. We believe that the figures will not be as high when schools are held online. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology stated that the COVID-19 pandemic is estimated to generate up to 7,200 tons of medical waste every day, which is mainly dominated by disposable masks. That is even before the execution of online schooling systems. Can we imagine how bad the environment can be affected if we do implement offline schooling system during this pandemic? And then, based on what the government team has said before about cost, an online schooling system is cost. With online school, the cost needed for transportation, sanitary kits, personal protective equipment like masks, face shield, and the others, vitamins, as well as accommodation for students coming from outside the area can be minimized or even removed completely. Okay, the last. Okay, POA accepted.
Okay, thank you. But according to BBC News Indonesia, nearly 10 million children at risk of permanent school dropout due to the inability to provide devices such as laptop, Wi-Fi, and other facilities needed to facing online learning during this pandemic. So I think I disagree if online learning's cost is lower than offline learning, as the opposite team said earlier. So I hope this matter can be considered by the opposition team. Thank you.
Thank you, government team. So how about them that lack of facilities in rural areas, right? Regarding to what happened right now, the government has been making efforts in providing facilities to make online learning possible. Currently, the government provided a budget of 9 trillion rupiah for the implementation of online school system. Of the 9 trillion, the government gives out subsidy in the form of free mobile data for students who need it in large numbers. Not only that, the Minister of Education also stated that the exciting budget is also allocated for social assistance to fund schools. These fundings can be used by schools to buy gadgets to learn their students in need. Okay, we continue. We talk about tissue papers, alcohol wipes, aerosol antiseptic, sprays, emit pollutants, and can damage health. With schools being held on site, students and teachers should bring products such as dry and wet tissues and antiseptics. This will result in the high demand and usage of said products, which can do harm to the environment. Schools will also need to disinfect their area with aerosol spray, which can consequently worsen the greenhouse effect. Aside from that, excessive use of alcohol-based sanitizer can lead to dry skin infection and alcohol poison. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, opposition team's third speaker. Now, let's continue to the government team's fourth speaker. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. The opposition team stated that online school learning takes less cost, but in reality, it is noticeable that online learning costs a lot. Poor internet connection and lack of digital device accessibility are still impeding distance learning as the pandemic continues. Living in a major city with adequate infrastructure is a blessing. But on the other hand, some do not have enough money to afford electronic devices. The true sufferers of the government order of school closings are the students in less fortunate situations and the students who are in schools that are not well funded. This is because those students lack the devices and internet access to be able to participate in online classes. And the schools do not have the capacity to teach online, unlike in New York, where devices are distributed to students by schools and private companies. In Indonesia, there is yet to be this kind of effort. Indonesia is still lagging behind in internet speed. Indonesia's mobile internet speed is ranked 121st in the world, down 4 places from the previous period. Indonesia is recorded to have an average download speed of 17.26 Mbps with an upload speed of 11.44 Mbps and a latency of 37 milliseconds. Performance declined when delay exceeded only 1 second by Tadani 1981, and 2 seconds delay is regarded as loss of conversational nature by Miller 1968. According to Education and Culture Ministry data, POI rejected. I repeat, according to Education and Culture Ministry data, 51% of early education to middle school students living in the outermost border and disadvantaged, or we call it 3T areas, do not have a reliable internet connection. In addition, 27.8% of them said that they had access to a laptop or computer, but the devices were also unreliable. Meanwhile, 20% and 18% of students outside of the 3T areas also do not have access to computers and smartphones, respectively. Without it, online schools cannot be implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, government team's fourth speaker. Now let's continue to the opposition team's fourth speaker. The time is yours.
Thank you, moderator. First of all, what the government team has just said is that our country isn't able to fully support the online schooling system, especially due to the condition of facilities that our country has right now. But it is due to this that government should be motivated to even up the development of all areas equally and give more attention to rural areas. We believe that people from all areas deserve to get the best facilities and resources for education. However, we have not seen this equality in education qualities in the country throughout the years. Next, I would like to state my arguments about this motion. The first one is that offline school is more time consuming than online school. During offline school, time is needed to transport between schools and residents for both teachers and students. Teachers also need time to mobilize and set up the class. Moreover, during this pandemic, one thing that we should not forget to do is to clean and disinfect our belongings, which also takes time. This is to prevent getting infected because the fact is that people may get infected of COVID-19 by touching surfaces that have been contaminated and then touching their eyes, nose, or mouth without cleaning their hands before. So, teachers and students commuting within school and their residents, teachers mobilizing and setting up from one
POI.
class to another. I'm sorry, but POI rejected. Let me continue. And disinfecting one belonging. These all waste a period of time that we should have been able to use effectively. With the online schooling system, unnecessary time waste can be reduced, and as a result, students and teachers have more time to spend productively, such as for doing their assignments, hobbies, or even rest. Besides being time consuming, another reason why we think that the plan to implement offline school should not be done is to maximize the potential of technology that technology uses. Teachers and students can learn and optimize their skills in operating technology so that they can maximize their understanding in operating applications and using the features available in their favor. After all, we are living in an era where technology keeps advancing and new inventions will always be made. By increasing our understanding in using technology and later being adapted to using it, it will be a great help for ourselves, as technology has always been and will continue to be a big part of our life. That is all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, opposition team's fourth speaker. We'll now move on to the closing statements by the fifth speaker. For the government team's fifth speaker, please proceed.
Okay, thank you for the time, moderator. So as the last speaker of the government team, I will deliver the conclusion of our arguments. Based on the previous arguments given by all the speakers of the government team, we can conclude that offline schools brings a lot of benefits and advantages. First of all, offline schools don't need stable internet connections constantly or smart electronic devices. These two things are usually one of the main issues for people that live in rural areas, with poor internet connection and lack of digital device accessibility. The lack of infrastructure supporting the online learning system will also affect the students' understanding of the lessons. The next advantages and benefits of offline schools are more effective learning. With the help of school rules and teacher supervision, offline schools make the students more focused and not easily distracted while listening to the teacher's explanations. Offline schools will help the students to improve both the academic and the non-academic aspect better. This will make a better future generation that will bring long-term effects in a lot of aspects on a bigger scale. The last one is about the students' mental health. The students' mental health can be affected by several factors, such as the feeling of unfamiliarity, lack of time to adapt, limited social interactions, having no friends or place to express themselves freely, and many more. The situations above can lead to anxiety and depression. Beside that, the experiences gained from offline schools will help the students to socialize more and improve their soft skills. Still, we cannot deny that we are in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the offline schools cannot be the same as before. But the government already compiled new regulations for offline schools. These regulations are adjusted according to health protocols to prevent the spread of COVID-19 viruses. So, as long as we follow the regulations made by the government, we believe that offline schools can go well. With that, our team remains steadfast in our opinion that offline schools need to be implemented along with health protocols. And to end my conclusion, I will read a short quote. Online is online,
It's a whole other world, not actually real life. That's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you, government team's fifth speaker. For the opposition team's fifth speaker, please state your closing statement.
Thank you, moderator. As the last speaker in this debate, I would like to conclude this debate and restate the opposition team's arguments regarding this motion. To this point, we still believe that the implementation of on-site learning in this pandemic is to no avail, as the execution of it will only affect, in one, an increased risk of transmission due to lack of discipline and control, as well as poor ventilation systems. Two, the degradation of our ecosystems by contributing to more waste and pollutants. Three, extra expenditures that is actually unnecessary on an individual basis. Four, time waste. And most importantly, limitations of the students' and teachers' ability and opportunity to explore what technology can do, especially in assisting the whole learning and teaching experience. We should also take into account that the offline schooling system will not always be beneficial to mental health, especially due to the fact that there are people who suffer from anxiety of getting the virus, and that there are other activities that can be done instead to fill the need of social interactions, meaning that it doesn't have to be done from school as long as health protocols are still obeyed. Considering our alibi for the inferiority of the system's implementation is not merely due to health-related reasonings. I would also like to restate that the world cannot remain constant and static, but it must face changes for the world to constantly improve and be better. We believe that this too occurs with the conventional learning system that will be replaced with virtual methods sometime in the future. We believe that the pandemic is a momentum for us to start changing. And lastly, we really hope that no one will underestimate this virus, as it has already proven its dangers and ability to mutate. Let us not take risks and decide on a system to be implemented with lack of awareness and knowledge of what risk it may bring, only to satisfy the majority's set preferred method of studying that was decided without full consideration of all the benefits and drawbacks that the system offers. Hence, we would close this debate while still heavily despising the implementation of offline school systems. Thank you.
Thank you, opposition team's fifth speaker. With this, we have reached the end of this debate. At this point, I would like to thank everyone who have participated as speakers, educators, time managers, the manager, and audiences. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brian, as the moderator.
Recording stopped.
Deacon, Isto, yeah. And for all the government team and also the opposition team. Thank you so much. So let's, the educators go to the breakout room. Dylan and Stanley.
Kristus, selamat pagi, selamat berjumpa kembali dalam renungan pada pagi hari ini. Salam sejahtera buat saudara semua dimanapun saudara berada. Damai dan sukacita oleh Roh Kudus melimpah senantiasa dalam hati dan kehidupan saudara semua. Mari sebelum kita mendengarkan renungan firman Tuhan, sama-sama kita berdoa. Bapa kami yang di sorga, Bapa
잡고서 같이 걸어요. 비가 오는 밤에도 외로웠던 낮에도 그대와 난 빛깔을 내게 가득 칠해줘요. 내가 더 잘할게요. 이렇게 같이 있어준다면 No, I believe 라라라라 부르는 노래 자꾸 찾아 헤매이던 그대와 봐요.
So very good video from Aloysius Brian. Yeah. Ini using Aloysius Brian, can you explain? So this is using not virtual background, yeah, no, yeah, yeah, yeah. Can you explain what you are using for the video? Huh? So we can take others' video, we spotlight, and then we can put it in that frame, gitu ya. Okay, nice. Bisa dipakai itu ya. Next meeting, next debate, it can be used as long as the tapi one by one ya, Aloysius ya, not all ya. Dan film juga bisa. Okay, nice. Yeah, okay, thank you, Aloysius Brian. Yeah, okay. So after the discussion of the educators, so some of the feedbacks are going to be given. Let's start from Dylan, please.
Okay, so in today's debate, both the government team and the opposition team gave an amazing performance. Both gave solid arguments, and you guys backed it up with plenty of data as evidence too. So I think you guys did really well. That's all from me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dylan.
So for both of the team, they did really well. They speak with loud and clear voice, and they both give a good argument with solid data to back it up with. But maybe some participant of the affirmative team speak too fast. Yes, that's all for me.
Thank you so much, Stanley. Yeah. So I really love when all the fifth speaker try to wrap up all the arguments from the speakers, yeah, and it's very detailed and clear, yeah, well ordered. Thank you so much. And then based on the discussion of the educators, the total score for affirmative team is 1,249, while the negative team 1,242. So give applause. The winner of this debate today is affirmative team. Yeah. Okay, yeah, thank you, Alice's friend. Okay. So next week, we are going to have a discussion about subjunctive, yeah? So the material for our midterm test for lintas minat. So there will be, so the debate will be continue after the midterm test. Okay. Any question before we close the meeting?
Mister, ini yang dokumennya Mister kirim ini harus diisi dah.
Sorry.
The document you sent to me through the Zoom chat.
Yeah. So fill in only your part. So if you are affirmative, government, pro, yeah, just fill in that column. If you are negative, contra, opposition, fill in only the negative, your column. Yeah, not two of them. Okay.
Also, sir, in request edit access, it's not editable.
No. Wait. Eugenia, kontra. Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry. Government team, can you edit the link? Dela? Okay. Eugenia. Yeah, Eugenia, please try. Dela, government team, can you open and
Yes, Mister.
yeah, can you open and edit the Google Docs? Eugenia, can you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dela?
Yes, sir.
Dela? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay then, thank you so much, guys. Yeah. So Brian, so you record all the debate with your live. Okay, nice, very good. So share to me the link, yeah, so that we can access. Thank you so much. Okay. See you next week, guys. Thank you so much. God bless you. Enjoy your life.
Thank you, Mister.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mister.
Yeah, thank you.